Hey guys, what's going on? Brandon here. Today we're going to be installing the Dasaita G13 head unit for our 2016 to 2023 Tacomas. This is future me recording. I did not know YouTube was 16:9 and I recorded this in 9:16, so I apologize in advance. But without further ado, here's the installation. In the box, you do get a user manual along with instructions on how to install the head unit. You also get 2 bags of accessory cables. The nice thing about this unit, it's all plug and play. Lastly, you get the head unit with the included trim. Let's get everything organized and laid out so we can start installing this. Alrighty, it looks like we have our GPS unit, we have our external microphone, we got the USB along with other wiring that we'll have to connect. This looks like to be the SIM connector. And the actual harnesses themselves. Depending on the model year of Tacoma you have, you'll use one harness over the other. You may have to switch this module here over, but it's super simple, super easy. They do a really good job at describing which model you'll end up using for the harnesses. And on the actual harnesses themselves, they are numbered. So this is going to be the CB004. This is going to be the CB047. Depending on the model you use, you'll use one over the other. As I mentioned, you may have to switch out this little module here, but there is an area to connect it on this one. I'm going to be using the CB004 because I have an older model Tacoma. Let's go ahead and get this switched over. Everything pretty much snaps. Like this, find out where it gets plugged over here. Make sure to be very delicate when plugging everything in. Easy as that. Ooh, look at that. Make sure to place down some protective something before you place your screen anywhere. A towel will work. I'm gonna use the same box that it came in, but right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna prematurely plug everything in, and then we're gonna go install it inside the truck. I find this to be a lot easier just because instead of trying to figure it out in the truck where you're limited on space, you have a lot more space outside your vehicle in order to find out what connection goes where. And with all these connections, it may seem super confusing. This all plugs into your factory hardware inside your truck. This all goes into the head unit, along with these corresponding cables will end up plugging into here as well. The instructions do an extremely good job of what goes where. If you ever do need help, just refer back to the instructions. Let's go ahead and get everything plugged in. Everything's numbered too, so it makes it super easy. So honestly, if you just find the location of the number, find a similar looking plug, it should make it super easy. All right, we're gonna start with the audio cable first. Audio cable is gonna be plugged into here. You should hear an audible snap with everything. Go ahead and do our Wi-Fi antenna. As you kind of start plugging everything, you can kind of see it gets a little bit bundled. Just kind of move everything slightly to the side. Don't pull too much because these are wires. Next, we're going to go with the microphone input. And then we have the auxiliary output. And then we have our GPS antenna. This does have 3M tape on the back. You are able to undo this and tape it to somewhere inside the cabin. What I'm going to do is actually tape it to the back of this metal plate here. And then we got the 4G antenna. It's getting a little bit hard to see. And then for this, I am going to move these aside and then 3M tape this right next to the GPS unit right here. Lastly, we have our SIM connector. Although I don't plan on using this, I am still going to install it just in case down the line I decide to do it. Lastly, we have our wiring harness. We are going to be plugging it in right here. Now, it all may seem confusing, but remember, all of this is going into the original parts of your truck, and then these connections are getting connected to these connections or these connections. Think left and right versus kind of jump it all around. And we got the aux plugged in. Let's go ahead and find the camera VIN. They're gonna have 2 separate ones. You're gonna have the aux in, so we have camera in. Please note that you do have 2 different camera ins. When you test it on your truck, if your reverse camera or any cameras don't work, try swapping these 2. And then lastly, we have the auxiliary left. Go ahead and plug that in. You really only should be left with this mic and then 2 connections if you decide to use them. I'm gonna put these aside because I am not planning on using them. And then what we'll end up doing once we have everything kind of installed is plug this in here and then route the mic to wherever you decide to put it. Getting your old trim off is pretty straightforward. It's just handled by a couple of clips. What you're gonna wanna do is grab from right here and gently pull. To get this old unit out, there is 4 10mm bolts. What you're going to do is just unscrew those. I am going to use a deep socket 10mm for some of them. I'm using my finger for some of these just because it's a little bit easier to get in there. Next, you're slowly going to want to take the unit out. Be careful because there is connections in the back. What you're going to do is carefully disconnect each and every one of those. There we go. You are going to be using these red clips, so carefully get them out. I'm just using 2 prying tools in order to do that. What you're going to do is get one end and then go ahead and get the other to pry it out. It is going to fly off, so do be careful. This is what it looks like. It is connected via like this, so this is why you have to pry it open. And there's 2 little pieces of plastic, if it'll focus, that you have to get undone. Let's go ahead and get the rest of these off. In the event that you can't get some clips off, we're actually going to be removing these vents anyway. There's 3 clips, 1, 2, and 3 that we can go ahead and remove to get this last clip off. There we go. And there is the second vent. Let's go ahead and transfer all those red clips to the new head unit. Along with the vent as well. You should be able to just slide these in. Now that we have all the connections, all the clips, and all the vents connected, let's go install it into the truck. So let's go ahead and place it here and start making some of these connections. The 2 cables I mentioned earlier that I said I wasn't going to use, if you did want to use them, they are to utilize the USB ports that you install. So basically you install it to the existing wiring that is in here, and then you install it into the actual head unit where these 2 USB ports are. For the microphone, what I ended up doing is feeding it through here and then down this footwell all the way through here. It's going to feed up here, up this pillar, and then just stuffed right there. I like it. You can pretty much put it wherever you want. You don't have to use it if you want. This unit does come with one already installed. It just does not sound the best. Now, before we put this unit back, let's go ahead and test it with it out. And then once we test it and make sure everything's good with the reverse camera, make sure Apple CarPlay shows up and everything, and then we can install it officially. That's good. This first initial startup's probably going to take a little bit. All right, we got Apple CarPlay connected. Now let's go ahead and make sure the volume controls work. Your steering wheel. Let's go ahead and start the vehicle and see if we can get that reverse camera going. Now that we tested everything out, let's go ahead and make sure all of our connections are good, and then go ahead and reinstall this unit. Like many Android units, you have a lot of pre-filled apps, a bunch of different things you can do and customize. You got things like YouTube, Facebook, Netflix, Hulu. You are able to go on it since it is basically just a big tablet, but you would have to use a hotspot or that SIM connection that I was talking about earlier in order to access that. Now, if you go into settings, you have a bunch of different options to change it and make it your own as well. One really cool thing that this unit has is called Amplifier, and it's basically an equalizer that you're able to customize the way that your music sounds any way that you want. These dials slide up and down. They have custom presets that you are able to use as well. Overall, first impressions of the unit, pretty positive. I got nothing to complain about it. Only time will tell if there's quirks. I'm just super excited to have CarPlay finally in this car. It's the 2019. It should have came like this from the factory. Install was pretty straightforward, but if you guys do have questions, please leave them down in the comments, and have a fantastic day, night, afternoon, wherever you are, and I will see you next time.